Welcome back. A new book digs into allegations that President Biden's inner circle in the West Wing fought to hide his mental decline. Here with co-author Jake Tapper on who he thinks, based on his reporting, was most complicit in what he describes as a cover-up.
The main people complicit in hiding the non-functioning Biden were President Biden, First Lady Biden, Hunter Biden, and then his immediate circle of aides that other people in the White House called the Politburo.
I want to bring in our political panel. Lauren Tomlinson, Republican strategist who worked in the Department of Homeland Security in the first Trump administration, and Michael LaRosa, who significantly for this conversation, spokesperson for First Lady Jill Biden. Well, Michael,
yes.
It would be reckless of me not to bring this to you first. You just heard Jake. You've heard it. You've seen the book. Your response?
Haven't read the book in its entirety yet. I'm working through it. The Politburo, that's a term that I'm not familiar with. There were other terms, but...
what were they?
We'll see if it's in the book.
Well, you would know.
They were
Michael.
you know, the advisors, the firm, the poobahs, the yeah, I think that was it.
Okay.
The firm was the one.
The
I remember
firm,
the
the advisors, the poobahs. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
That
yeah.
all works. But what did that signify? This kind of tight-knit, overprotective cadre around the president?
Yeah, and I think all presidents, to be clear, have a tight-knit insular
and a
group.
hierarchy of
Sure.
advisors. Every president has, no question.
Absolutely. But I think that there was from what I observed from the campaign 19 and 20 and then in the White House, there was just a constant or a premium placed on preserving the Biden's privacy in ways that were really detrimental to the president and first lady's reputation and legacy, especially when it would come to matters of public relations and media relations. There was a group inside that just felt like the public didn't have a right to certain pieces of them. And to me, I said, oh, they probably shouldn't have, it was easy for me to say, oh, well, then they shouldn't have been running for president. But I was an outsider who was welcomed in. And so, I spoke up. I got into a lot of, Anthony Bernal would tell you that we fought a lot about these kinds of decisions.
You fought unsuccessfully for more access and more visibility.
Always more access and most importantly, more disclosure and transparency. From the smallest things from day one, like the usher being fired. I still don't know who fired him, whether it was the Trump folks or us, to the dog bites and the seriousness of those dog bites that would come out in a drip, drip, drip fashion over time. To the wedding, the grandkids' wedding, and whether press would be covering that, and they got caught lying about that when they didn't have to. These were simple, very simple, small, trivial things sometimes.
But also symptomatic of a larger problem.
It often made me wonder, what else would they...
Let me read you a quote from Naomi Biden about the book. The book is called Original Sin. Put simply, it amounts to a bunch of unoriginal, uninspired lies written by irresponsible, self-promoting journalists out to make a quick buck. That's not your take, based on what I just heard you say.
No, but I love Naomi Biden, and if it was my grandfather, I'd probably be saying the same thing. And it is the role of family to be defensive, fiercely defensive and protective of the principle. It is the political professional's job to interpret data, to give analysis, and to make recommendations based in reality.
Lauren, this is your lane now. You're wide open. I've given you, I've taken up a lot of time, necessarily so, with Michael.
Yeah, I'm happy to let this go on. I just find it so rich that people are like, this isn't a cover-up, that that Biden was so sharp. Oh, forget what I was saying during his entire presidency, that he wasn't really declining before our eyes, that I believed everything the White House said. I never asked follow-up questions from the media or from Democratic politicians. And even talking about this, yes, obviously politicians have close-knit advisors that protect them and want them, make sure that information is closely held. That I experienced that in all realms of government, be it Congress or in the executive branch. However, there is not this level of lying that happened that we now see, and Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson are exposing. If they hadn't written this book, it probably still would have been a big drip. But I think this was a forcing mechanism to have everyone actually reckon the degree into which there was misrepresentation and lies about his cognitive decline. And I disagree about the family. The family should be the one. It's like an 80-year-old that still wants to drive when they can't see anymore. Your family takes away the keys. Somebody should have looked at him within that family and said, you cannot run for president. You cannot form sentences. You do not remember the names of your senior advisors. If you don't remember the name of your senior advisors, who is answering the phone at 3 a.m., who is actually the one negotiating with Israel during the Gaza, issues, who is in charge of our national security at that point? Foreign policy was obviously just being run by Jake Sullivan. This to me is just like, it was so bad. I'm just like flabbergasted by some of the comments now of people trying to walk back, say, oh no, I didn't really know. I was just being lied to too. Like, you were in the room with them.
Michael, you've got 30 seconds.
I mean, that's all of their crosses to bear, right? Whether it's the people you're speaking about who said one thing are now saying another. But what we do know is none of us, the observers, are doctors, right? We can't prescribe mental decline. We can observe something is terribly wrong here, and I think everybody did. The point is, we saw him so infrequently that once we did see him and he made some glaring mistakes, it became evident to everybody. But, this wasn't a White House that gave access to a lot of people, either in Congress or to the press.
Michael LaRosa, Lauren Tomlinson, thank you for that discussion. It was rich.